We're here. It is the ManFUzed Podcast. I am Kay Lee, audio producer, voice artist, host. My co-host, Ben H, making moves.
Coming at you live.
So this week on the ManFUzed Podcast, we're going to discuss how we are expanding and the new venture that we are about to take on. Also, a contributor and dear friend of the ManFUzed Podcast who had a happy home until he came on our podcast, and how we might have destroyed the future of his 6-year-old. For the first time in as long as I can remember, we are celebrating some journalists. And did you know that there was an official doomsday clock that gauges how close we are to the end of the world? But first, we are excited about what is going on with ManFUzed right now. We have an announcement to make. The ManFUzed Podcast.
That's right.
Is expanding. We have billion-dollar ideas, and we are trying to execute them. Great announcements to come, but the one we will be announcing today, we have launched ManFUzed Productions. For us, this is a big deal. My daily job, which a lot of our listeners, portion of them, have come from the morning show that I am a part of, The Burt Show. The Burt Show, my role on that show is an audio producer. So I am responsible for producing, editing, separating all the segments that somebody would listen to on the Burt Show's podcast.
That's right.
That's me. I do all that. My role as an audio producer, I produce this podcast.
Many people who give me feedback on our podcast, whether they like our content or not, everyone always compliments on it sounds great. The quality is phenomenal. I don't even know if most people think in their mind editing, they're just going, wow, this sounds really good. Sounds very professional. And that's thanks to you.
Thank you.
Kay Lee, the audio producer, who thought up this amazing word called ManFUzed.
It is.
And brought it to me, his friend, Ben H. I got an idea for a podcast. You want to do that? And I said, sure. Here we are.
52 episodes in and going.
And counting.
I would say the ManFUzed Podcast itself is doing excellent. We got some great ideas for some great things. At the same time, there are millions of podcasts out there.
4 million, right? To be exact.
Yeah, and if the stat I read the other day was that 2 million of them didn't have more than 2 episodes, which means someone started a podcast and then they quit.
I just want to say that I've met people all over the world from all walks of life, a lot of them whom I disagree with, some I agree with. I believe that people have value in their stories, and I believe that everyone's voice has something of value that could help someone else.
Absolutely.
There are so many people out there who feel a calling to have their voice be heard and feel that they have information, feel that they know or they possess a skill and they can share information on that, or they have some type of something that they learned that they'd like to share. And so they want to do that through the medium of audio.
Correct.
Podcasting is a revolution.
Correct. And so while there are a million places to do editing, we have decided that we are launching ManFUzed Productions, gearing towards, it's a concierge service for like-minded, business-savvy individuals who want their message, their voice, their company's message out there for people to hear. And it might not be...
May not be business. It
Right.
could be about your hobby.
But it might be a niche audience. It
That's
might
right.
be an engineer that is talking to other engineers,
Absolutely.
which I personally would not be the listener of that podcast.
No, but I tell you what, if ManFUzed Productions got a hold of that audio, we could transform it from a raw audio file to be delivered to the world as a professional level, A+ grade, silky smooth, buttery podcast. Top of the line.
Now, I can't make someone who has a shit voice sound great. I can make them sound smart by editing skills, but I can't change.
Yeah.
I'm going to make their voice go from...
Like when I say bro, dude, and like a million times.
Well, we all do that. We have crutch words, and that is part of...
I think those are my crutch words, bro.
You say bro.
Bro.
And dude.
Dude.
A lot. As an editor and as an individual that likes to grow, we do a podcast, so we are going to have to challenge each other to drop those words. We're going to have to make it painful when those words are dropped.
Oh.
I haven't figured it out yet. How? Maybe it's a monetary.
And behind the scenes, there's always all kinds of things that are happening.
Oh, totally.
Dogs are barking.
We might take a pause for a minute, and I might...
Somebody has to go to the bathroom. Kaylee's wife walks in. Maybe I have a phone call come in.
Right.
We have to stop, pause.
Right.
Someone calls in with horrible audio. We get disconnected. They have to hang up, call back.
Yeah.
All these things happen behind the scenes, but the audience never hears it because Kaylee and his team edit it out. Now, he has an expansive team and knowledge. I mean, it's already professional
Which
grade.
is why launching ManFUzed Productions is just a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer.
And while there are a million, it seems like, editing companies and consulting companies.
Absolutely there are. And that's good.
That's great. But we, not saying those companies cannot offer value. I'm sure they do. Absolutely.
We're living on the shoulders of giants.
This is a no-brainer for us because of our contacts, because of our place in this market already, where we can add value and we can do this thing big. There's no reason why we can't carve out whatever chunk we want.
Well, value is always the key. I mean, the most important thing in being successful in business, obviously, is the exchange of value. Everything else is somewhat irrelevant as it pertains to business, because if the exchange of value doesn't happen, chances are the business may not happen. And if it does, it's certainly not going to happen again.
It won't sustain.
It won't sustain. So using that metric, I think it's pretty clear that, number one, there are people with a message that needs to be heard, and they deserve to have that message heard in a professional manner. If they so choose, we can provide that service.
And if you're talking about a person who is very successful already, they don't have the time to edit. They don't want to learn how to edit. They don't want to learn what they need to get started. They don't need studio. They don't need to learn what they need for a studio setup. They need ManFUzed Productions to come in, say, this is the space. This is how often you want to do it.
Right.
This is what it's going to take. You record, you get it to us, we get it back, we get it uploaded. It's a one-stop shop. That is the new ManFUzed Productions.
Boom.
So, that being said, if you know of anybody that thinks that they might need to start a podcast, please send them to us. You can reach us at 770-744-5227, voicemail, text, or hit us up, manfused.com.
I'm excited about it, man.
I'm pumped.
I want to tell the story, too, because it's really interesting how the universe works, right? I try to say gratitude like a million times a minute. I try to get my mind in a place to always be saying. It was interesting how we began this conversation. It began last week, and then we really started kind of amping it up when we started talking about the services that we can provide and the opportunities that exist.
I went to Office Depot yesterday because in the ManFUzed studio, I decided with all the other ideas we're working on, we got $1 billion idea, but we're not even going to let that go right now. I decided we need a whiteboard because we need to start putting this stuff down in front of us.
That's right. And taking pictures of it.
And writing on it, mapping everything out for domination.
As you're hanging the whiteboard, someone that we know, a good friend of both of ours who you grew up with, whom I met through you in 2005, and he and I have been buddies ever since.
Hey, we'll give him out. CJ Stam, the owner of Southern Comfort Cabin Rentals. This dude's a beast. His family's always been a beast. His family was always a mentor to me.
He's just a leader, dude.
He's a leader.
I mean, the guy is just a pure leader.
He's a purebred.
I mean, purebred, just out of the box. He may not see it that way, but boy, it
He
sure
knows,
looks that way.
He knows
He's
it.
gotta know.
Don't.
I texted him happy birthday, legend.
Yeah. Is that what you said? Oh, that's funny. So no,
But it's true.
but he's not cocky,
No, at all.
but he knows it. And
He's got to. But CJ, he called Kay Lee out of the blue and just said, hey, I've got a couple buddies in my business space who are starting a podcast, and I was wondering if you might be able to help them out on the production side and at least give them some guidance and direction in the types of things they need to buy and the types of things they need to do to get their podcast edited, so on and so forth.
these are business owners that are not going to want to learn how to sit down and do audio editing.
You know how many people have been telling me I need to do a podcast for years? People have been like, Ben, you need a podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And now I got one, but I'm just saying, if there was an opportunity for me to just sit down at my desk in my office and close the door and record for 20 minutes and then just send that audio file into a production company that was going to turn it around and have delivered to me a professional level podcast within like the 72-hour turnaround time,
Or whatever the turnaround
48
time
hours,
is.
whatever it
Yeah,
might be.
whatever it's negotiated. But
back
yes.
in my inbox that I can then turn and promote through all of my marketing channels, I would have had a podcast a long time ago because I invest in myself and I invest in my business, and people who believe in themselves do that.
Correct. That's why ManFUzed Productions is born. So that being said, how the universe works, as I am drilling the whiteboard into the wall,
Right.
I had to put the drill down
To answer the
the phone. And as I answer it, and he asked me these questions, I said, you wouldn't believe your timing right now. I said, because Ben and I we're launching ManFUzed Productions for this exact reason, and I am hanging a whiteboard. That's what I'm doing it for. What are the chances? If you build it, they will come.
Well, you know what it makes me think about? It makes me think that CJ is so honed in to the frequency of just balling. You know what I mean?
He knows
That
we're coming.
He gets pinged whenever one of his friends has a good idea, an idea comes. Give Kaylee a call.
He's got what you need.
Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers. If you guys haven't heard of Alex Hormozi, you should check him out. The guy is an absolute beast. And he wrote a book called $100 Million Offers. I think maybe we should post a link to it or something like that. Anyways, I'm in the process of reading this book. And what he's talking, gist of what he's saying is come up with an offer that's better than everybody else's.
Yeah, we talked about this on a previous podcast.
We have actually come up with an offer in that space, provide value that is just such a great opportunity for someone that they'd be crazy to say no to it, given your competition.
You know what? I do love that.
And so that's the basis of ManFUzed Productions. We feel that we have value to provide that is over and above the competition based upon the result that we produce on this show every week.
And what I produce for the Burt Show.
Every week.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, and I love what you just quoted, but to close this out, I want to hear what your wife's stepdad says. What is his slogan, Ben?
He says, Ben, there's always room for somebody looking to do a good enough job.
Just remember those words right there.
Wise words from Brentavo himself.
We have ruined the future of a 6-year-old little boy.
Little boy.
And this is how it happened. We have a very close friend to the ManFUzed Podcast. He is a contributor. He is an influence. He's been on the podcast multiple times.
He's a brother. We love him.
Absolutely. So let me just paint this picture. I'm at work the other day, and I see that you text me multiple times, which is not unheard of because you send me clips of things that we might talk about here, talk about there. I didn't check it because I was busy at the moment. You called. I don't know, 30 minutes after I didn't respond, I saw you calling and I hit the FU button because I was busy. So when I'm done doing what I'm doing and I check the messages, I see a screenshot of message to you and I'm going to read it, leaving out certain names. And it's a screenshot with a podcast title to one of our episodes in the background. So it's a text message on top of a podcast episode of ours. And it says, yo, when I got back from the factory in Maryland yesterday, I got my ass chewed out by my family. I thought Kaylee was going to edit this. Then my wife heard it, and now she's pissed off at me. There was no problem with the second episode I did with you guys, but I'm getting a lot of shit for the first episode. We put this in a time frame, which was 2 months ago. We had them on less than a month ago.
Yeah.
For the second, they are bitching about one from 2 to 3 months ago.
Right.
Which
right.
we have never heard of till this point. Then as I read it, apparently they were trying to get their son into a school. I'm assuming it is a private school that maybe has a religious message to it because they're trying to get them in. They did a background search with his name, with the father's name, and in the search results came the ManFUzed Podcast. The psilocybin effect, that was the first part of the title. We did an episode on psilocybin and how to breathe with your balls. I guess the balls sent the administration over the edge. This one episode in particular caused the school some doubt in their family's decisions.
That's right.
And rejected the application.
And then went home and watched an R-rated movie. It's such a hypocritical thing to do. You're going to be there and you're going to reject something based on what? And then you're going to turn around and go home and you're going to watch a movie.
A porn, probably.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? A lot of criticism comes from certain things that we talk about, but I think that's part of the beauty of having the ability to say things that you're thinking.
And to give you the title of the episode, as I'm walking out of work, I'm reading this going, holy shit, this dude's world is on fire.
Well, because I hit up Kaylee and I was like, bro, look, we got to get him off this thing like now.
The school has rejected. His future is just tarnished.
Now, when we spoke later that day, it didn't appear as if, I don't know, maybe that wasn't the main thing, or I don't know. Apparently, it came down to the F-bombs.
Well, the title of the episode that had his 6-year-old boy rejected, the application rejected from this school. And this is a school that his parents are about to drop some major coin on. If you're going to a private school in New York, that ain't cheap. In the city, that shit ain't cheap.
No.
And to finish reading this message, they shut down our application. On the family front, everyone loved the second episode I did with you guys, but even my dad was like, you can't be cursing like that and having your name online associated with balls.
This is one of my best friends. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
I mean, this is not a standard situation. We thought it was funny. I feel bad about it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry that it happened. I hate that his time spent with us because I always enjoy his presence and he gives great information.
Oh, my God.
Turned into a negative thing for him.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I hate
3 months later, we didn't drop the episode yesterday. As I'm walking out, I'm going, holy shit, the earth is blowing up. And I felt bad because I don't want his wife yelling at him. I know how that is. My wife yells at me all the time. I don't want his dad, who he has a great relationship, going, you shouldn't be doing this.
That's
so
right.
He's taking it from one angle. He's getting it from another. And now the school has rejected the application, which you know has just infuriated your wife that much more. And now you have to go look for another school. Who knows? That might be out of the way even more. It might not be as good. It might not be as convenient. So I hated seeing that.
Also, if you listen to a lot of our earlier episodes, it is a bit more profane than it is now.
But this episode that we talked about, yes, testicle breathing, but that's a real thing. Men can breathe with their balls. And the psilocybin effect is a real thing. Psilocybin mushrooms, while illegal, by microdosing, have the ability to relieve anxiety, to increase your mood. There's so many studies and positive effects if used. Now, you could also trip your balls off, but still, it's natural.
Well,
nonetheless.
Anything used in excess is going to cause a negative effect.
it's going to get a negative perception.
And it's not illegal everywhere. It's just illegal some places.
Colorado,
you know what I mean?
it's legal now.
California. I mean, there's a lot of places, I think Oregon, Washington.
Nonetheless, did we use curse words in that episode?
Probably we did.
But was it one of the episodes that if I had to look back at our catalog that I go, ooh, yeah, that
might have been a little too far.
Or maybe that topic, I could see maybe why okay, but his name wasn't on it. So what did I do? I immediately said, oh shit, I'll take his name off of it. Maybe they can resubmit little Johnny's application and maybe he gets in. But at the same time, I had this overwhelming feeling of pride because I saw instantly while our friend, our correspondent, was harassed and abused that day, there was a silver lining because the fact that we can stir emotion is a powerful thing. The fact that the school found it because his name was listed in one of our episode descriptions as a guest made me realize the power that we have right here. And it's a responsibility. And while we may cuss and may say misogynistic shit as this one negative review, we have a platform. And
I did invite her to write a negative review.
Who?
This person's wife. She was disgusted and upset.
And that we have ruined her child's future. I would love that review if it's true. I'm sorry. We're not going to curb the shit we say. If we feel that something is wrong or we feel passionate about a subject or a topic, you don't have to agree with it, but we're not going to change what we say because we're afraid or the feedback. Because I feel that on the ManFUzed podcast, we take a common sense approach. We say it like we see it. And that's it. And if you don't like it, there's other places to go. We're getting texts now and emails almost daily. People saying how much it means to them that, you know, this or that. Or we had one last night I sent you from Michelle, a listener of The Burt Show and a listener of the ManFUzed podcast. And she actually said something that was really, really cool. She said, you guys inspired me to check out Andy Frisella's 75 Hard program. And while it being a very hard thing to complete, she even referenced that it is life-altering. And I thought about that because we talked about our journey on our first episode, or my journey and yours, with the 75 Hard program. And Andy Frisella is one of the people who inspire the ManFUzed podcast.
Absolutely.
And we not only listen to his podcast, we have now linked directly to him in our episode descriptions.
Yes.
And just like the episode I dropped last night, if you want to check out Andy Frisella, his link to his website and podcast is up at the ManFUzed Podcast.
People are going to say things about 75 Hard like it's extreme.
It is extreme. There's no bullshit about it. It is extreme.
But let me tell you something, man. If you want to see what you're made of, if you really want to get to know yourself a little bit better, it's a really good program to implement like discipline into your lifestyle. There's just really nothing better, I don't think. There's nothing I've ever seen that's better. You know, the 75 Hard program is really just the first step of the Live Hard program, which is a program designed to be implemented over a year. It consists of 75 Hard. Then there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, which are each 30-day phases. For me, now that I've completed 75 Hard, which I did last year, my goal this year is to complete the Live Hard year.
You can get more info at Andy Frisella's website. You can reach that from our podcast.
Wouldn't it be cool if we get people to do 75 Hard with us? If you want to do 75 Hard, let's say kick off February 15th with Kaylee and Ben H. Let us know.
I'm starting February 15th.
Well, somebody already reached out and said, hey, I did it, changed my life. So we've got people in the mode. A lot of people have told me that our episodes on 75 Hard have encouraged them to do it. So if you're out there, you're listening, you want to do 75 Hard with us, we're kicking off February 15th. Dude, Live Hard. Let's just knock it out.
How about we start with 75, which is the first part anyway? I mean, it's amazing that this platform has so much value and it has that much power. So while our friend was in a living hell the other day, it still brought a smile to my face. Is that selfish?
Love our friend and contributor, and we're sorry that went down.
And I did immediately take his name down off of that. So now instead of his name, it just says contributor. Him and balls cannot be in the same area.
Yeah, he just texted me, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right now?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. Do you want to call him and see if we can get him on to expand on this?
Yeah, I will. But he was just texting me.
This was not planned, by the way. I haven't spoken with our friend.
I don't think he's going to want to be on, dude.
You don't?
Nah. He said, I just got a lecture in a board meeting about this title from the investors. I thought he fixed it.
He's still getting shit about it. Not only did I change balls, which apparently to corporate investors and banks and schools, the word balls is offensive and it is over the top and nobody wants to be associated with balls. So I went with the textbook word for that body part.
Yeah.
So I changed psilocybin effect to breathing with your testicles because balls was apparently crushing the lives of everyone around them. And I took off his name. This is what I have updated, and I updated it the other day. I took off our contributor's name, and I even changed the word from balls to testicles because I didn't want to ruin anyone else's life.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying.
Take a picture of that because I have updated it.
Here, hold on a sec. Let me
now, if I need to call Apple and tell them that, like, to see why it hasn't updated in their system, that
the episode number. It says that on Apple.
It says what?
The psilocybin effect and breathing with your testicles.
So it did update on Apple. So what the hell are they looking at? The banks are coming at him now about this episode. Like now
Apparently he's in a board meeting.
With who? The banks?
I mean, the guy does a lot of crazy different business.
So they're saying, we just did this search too. Why is everyone searching his name? And all of a sudden.
Hold on a sec. Let's search his name real quick. Let me do it.
So you just sent him that screenshot. It's not funny, everybody.
About this result, Apple is an American multinational, apple.com. All right, I'm going to click the link. If you click the link, it takes us to here.
If you click the link, it takes you what, to the episode?
Yeah.
Okay, but is the episode updated once you click it? I can't change Google's description. I'm sorry. I've done everything that we can do. So he didn't even actually click on that link because he would have saw that we've taken him off. But we have no control over that.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, from his perspective, we're the only ones with control. We have done what we can do here. I mean, I guess we could email Apple customer support or some shit like that and just say, hey, we have a podcast with you guys. We changed the episode so this person's name's not in it. Could you please update that in your search records or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I could spend the next 3 days trying to figure out. By the way, it's a great episode and you should listen to it. And if you're a man listening to this, you should try testicle breathing. Give me the banker. Put the phone up to the banker. I want to tell him banker. And the banker comes on.
Sir. This is the ManFUzed Podcast.
No, listen.
We're going to teach you how to breathe
with your balls.
With your balls.
No, he hands him the phone, and the guy puts it to his ear. He's like, hello? And I'm like, oh, doesn't that feel nice? The music in the background.
I want you to lift him up.
Yeah. I want you to set him over the chair.
Now let him just fall.
I want him dangling off the chair.
Let him dangle all the way down.
This is a prime example of how everything you do lives on the internet.
Well, I'm telling him now that when you click the link, you will notice that on the source, it has been updated where we changed balls to testicles.
And your name is gone.
We removed your name. We're taking every effort to clean it up.
You should say.
We looked up what balls means, and the technical medical term is testicles.
Oh my God.
This is a saga.
I have an idea. Anytime this question is raised, he could yell at them, fake news, click on the link.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There are no balls.
I was never.
I was never there.
Oh, God.
This world, Ben, is coming to an end.
Yeah, it is.
Even at my kids' school during sex ed, they use the word testicles. Testicles is a friendly word.
So I sent the text. When you click the link, it takes you to the podcast itself, where we have removed your name in lieu of men's lifestyle expert, and we changed balls to testicles. And then I sent another text that said, well, Kaylee did.
Which I did. The day that this unfolded, I went home. The first thing I did, I said hi to my wife. I went straight to my computer and I made that edit. Now, when this comes up again, because I can't make it disappear off of the search results in Google, he's just going to have to say it's fake news, click the link, and when it opens up, he's removed.
What about a men's lifestyle expert? I mean, he's basically like a shaman, dude. I mean, the guy's out in Arizona.
Don't they let their balls fly?
I mean, it's a meditation.
We weren't talking about anything sexual.
No.
We were talking about how we can increase sexual energy.
That's right, which you can.
This is a breathing technique.
It's an old Japanese secret.
I remember this episode because for a small fee, we can come to your office.
No need. We can do it over the phone.
And we can teach this style to your business employees.
That's right. This is part of the health and wellness.
This can be a viral trend. We can consult.
Before you know it, in every shopping center, there's going to be a location where you can go
and breathe with your balls. Our contributor, our friend, is calling in right now.
Pirooz.
What's up, bro? I was in the middle of two women bitching about a logo or whatever.
This is Kaylee. Hey, buddy.
Hello, Kaylee.
You're on the ManFUzed Podcast.
You are on the ManFUzed Podcast right now.
From all the stuff that I've done, it's so funny. It's like this one thing I've been pinpointed for. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why is everybody going off? I think it's the title about the balls. That's the problem.
What? But hold on one
Do you
second.
think it's better that we change it to testicles?
You can change it to whatever you want, bro.
No, I mean, we changed it to testicles. The thing is that your name being associated with it when a Google search, I did the Google search, and you're right. I mean, it's like 10 layers down that it's there.
I'm like, of all the things that if you go on a Google search, Ben, and you put in my name, I have like 100 different things that I've done, like thousands of different articles about balls and testicles.
And you probably still do make ball powder.
I have not made ball powder in a while.
We need to manufacture a ball powder with Pirooz.
I don't know if he can be associated with anything balls.
I would make ManFUzed ball powder. I'm going to introduce you to my attorney, who's a very, very lovely guy. He'll help you, and we could easily do a ManFUzed ball powder.
So there's a couple things. When Ben sent me messages the other day, and I was in the middle of something, so I didn't check them at first. And when I got done doing what I was doing, I opened up my phone and saw that your world was caving in. And I was like, oh my God, what is going on? And I said, what is going on? And so I called Ben and I'm like, you got to get Pirooz. Barron is not accepted to a school. His wife hates him. His dad's coming down on him. I'm like, what the F is happening? This is from months ago.
My dad actually loved the one we did about Iran. My father, the link, and he told me last night, because we were talking about it last night, he's presenting it to a group on social media because all these young people are speaking up. And he's like, I'm going to spread this everywhere. And I'm like, Dad, you may want to listen to the podcast first.
Well, no, but
before you put it out there. And he's like, I don't really care. I like what you had to say. I like the way these guys work. And I was like, okay.
We just want to be authentic. We don't want to polish ourselves. I just want to be my authentic self, and I know you do too, and Kaylee does too, and that's why we're doing these podcasts. So, I just hate that it's had a negative effect.
What's
you know what I mean?
crazy is to me, and I went home, the first thing I did, Pirooz, is I took you off, and I was like, fine, you know what? Balls apparently is just too much for some people.
So you put it in the thesaurus.
No, I just pulled up the terminology they teach to kids in school. Testicles, you're a man.
I personally have no problem. And I understand I need to stop cursing. I am comfortable with the two of you. We're boys. We're talking about everything from meditation to revolutions to whatever. Well, what do you want me to do? That was my whole thing. I'm like, I don't know what the hell everybody's talking about. It's like, I didn't say anything bad. I didn't insult any groups. I wasn't making fun of a guy who turned into a girl who turned into a guy.
I haven't gone back and listened to that episode in a minute, but you weren't even on the whole thing. I thought you did an amazing job telling our audience and being on here about what is the tragedies going on in Iran. And you can tell in that episode, not only through your personal experience of having to see what you saw at the age you saw it and having to escape that country because of these dictators and killers and murderers, you had a very passionate message on that episode. You cussed way more on that Iran episode than I can't even remember, like, if you even cursed on the balls episode.
Here's the other thing. One of the people that was criticizing me for it, which I think is good press, but one of the people that was like, I really love what you had to say about, I'm sitting there with the people. I'm like, what did I say wrong? And one of the women in the group, she was like, listen, what you said makes a lot of sense. Where can I learn some of that?
Ben and I were just talking about how to teach testicle breathing across the globe. Like we will. You don't even have to have testicles, but you can try.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm glad it had a positive effect.
Listen, we live in a world today. Watch the news. Look at the media. Look at all the bullshit that's out there. Look, you got a guy who was posing as a drag queen in Brazil, and he's now a congressman saying that, you know, a Heisman Trophy winner. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's actually very positive. I have no problem with any of it personally. I don't really care. It doesn't stop me from doing my job. It doesn't stop me from being good at what I am good at. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, what is all this?
I think there's two things here. Number one, I think we can use this to create something. I think a product line of ball powder would be perfect for this brand. And if a banker wants to ask you about it, say, listen, I don't know if you've heard this podcast before, but I'm getting ready to roll out a ball powder with these guys, and we're going to fucking crush it. So you might want to fucking think about getting involved, or maybe not. I don't know.
That time you snap your fingers, the lights dim, and you point to the PowerPoint presentation about ball powder.
Here's a sample.
I mean, I was just blown away. And so the wokeness, this is how fucked up our world is right now. I mean, I just can't believe why you're having to, like, it's an issue for you right now. It's crazy because it's just the word balls. We didn't say anything about Black Lives Matter, or we're talking about a male's body part that is a set of balls is on every male unless you've been castrated.
No, I mean, these are natural. It'd be like having thoughts about, like, the discussion of sex. Oh, how do you think you were born? Like, you know what I mean? Like, It just makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense. And to me, it's like, the more of this sort of stuff we do, the better. To me, I bring in a conscious angle into it because that's what I believe. That's what I do. That's what I think about all day long.
100%.
Right? But you guys just happen to ask me about testicle breathing, which I'm not an expert at, but I do happen to know a lot about men's lifestyle and men's health. And I try to do my best to help out.
You broke off 45 minutes of great conversation and all the shit that, you know about men's life. I mean, you're an advocate for men's health and men's life. I mean, you owned a grooming lounge. You had the PRZ Man Podcast or show years back talking about, just stuff that men deal with.
And men are still underserved, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Men are still ignored. And we talked about it that one time. It's like, if you look at a cover of Men's Health magazine, it's not realistic, because if you drink wine or beer, you're not gonna look like that.
That's right.
And not everybody is a gymnast or whatever.
Dude, I'm thinking about
svelte actor.
So what do you think? I mean, like, from a marketing perspective, I'm not going to put your name back on, but maybe I'm going to go in harder and I'm just going to change testicles, but now I'm going to say ball sack.
I think testicles is funny because then when they look at it, it'll be better.
Well, I was going to say, it's gotten people's attention because when they Google me, and I don't know why anybody wants to Google me, because there's nothing interesting about me. And I don't think, I'm like, of all the things I've done, I was telling Alicia, I was like, all the things I've done, of all the, this, literally, I pioneered markets, all right? And I'm like, that's what everybody focuses on, is this testicle thing?
To Pirooz's point, though, I wonder why the Iran one doesn't populate.
And that's what it's interesting enough. My dad is like, that is good. Like, he didn't even pay attention to the cuss words.
I don't think people really cared. I mean, I really don't.
Well, then why are people bringing it the fuck up?
I think there's about 10 to 15% of people who are just...
I don't know, 10 to 15% of people who live like weird lives. I mean, like, this is reality. You could live a sheltered life. You could be that banker and live a sheltered life, but your kid's on the internet. Your kid's on TikTok. You're like, oh, our kids don't do that. Your kids are looking at worse things. You know what
Your kids are looking at a set of balls from the back as they're watching some porn.
God. The three of us are fathers.
And we have boys.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we're not like just making this stuff up.
It's unbelievable. I have to be really honest with you, Pirooz. While I was walking out of the building when I first saw the text and I saw that your world was caving in, I was mixed with, oh shit, I hate that form. I'm going home. I'm changing it right now. But at the same time, I had this smile on my face only because it made me realize how powerful putting what you put in your title and your description for an episode, how that is findable. It blew my mind because I hate that you even had to hear it from your wife about like, oh my God, you know, whatever, because I know how my wife would be. She yells at me all the time for sharing my life on my podcast or on the radio show that I'm a part of. And she's like, no, we're going to have no friends. Everyone's going to hate us because I'm always sharing shit. But I was like, it just made my eyes open to the power that we have on this platform. I mean, I hate it. And we've changed it. I changed it like within an hour of me actually reading that message. But I don't know how to change what's still populating in the search.
All the things that I'm like, why wouldn't you look up like a market pioneer or market at the children's market, you know, whatever, pioneer the children's market, pioneer the men's market. Like, it's all like the people are focused on the testicles. It's concerning.
You know what it is, though? It's almost like cleavage at this point. How men's eyes go right to a woman's cleavage when they're sitting in front of them. I don't know why they're focusing on the testicles.
I get the cleavage portion, but I'm like, you know.
Well, if you put some glitter on your testicles and had those hanging out, everyone would be staring at them.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's a big deal at all, personally. I reached out to Ben. I'm like, this is weird, but this is what's happening here.
That is awesome. I am proud that your dad loved that piece on Iran. And if he would spread it, because I think your message in there is incredible and it needs to be heard.
It does, man.
No, you know what my father was saying to my father is like, this is what needs to come up on Google. And I said, what do you mean? He goes like, this is what younger people need to understand what's going on that side of the world. And,
absolutely,
you know,
man.
People are getting killed and executed every day. And I was like, oh, yeah. I'm just sitting there like, yeah. Have you listened to the podcast, Dad? He's like, he didn't even care at that point. He was like, again, like I said, he was all about the content, and he was fascinated with the fact that the two of you were actually interested in it, because he's like, the average person in the media is basically manipulated by advertising. And I was like, okay. And he goes, and this is great because you guys are just being honest.
Well, my secret is I don't watch TV.
Before you actually texted, because we were talking about this actual topic 20 minutes before you even texted, because it was part of our show today.
Yeah.
The fact that we had accidentally ruined the life of a 6-year-old's future. But we didn't use your name, but we were relaying the backlash from this episode. And I told Ben, I said, this is not a show where we are going to curb what we feel. We're not trying to offend anybody. We're going to say it as we see it. And that's exactly what we were doing by having you on, telling your story about what's going on in Iran and your life and what you lived through, because that's real shit. I'm like, I'm not going to curb my language for anybody. Oh, sorry. And this ball powder isn't going to launch itself.
But it will be perfection.
But listen, if you guys want to do a ball powder, because I think a ball powder would be very successful with the name ManFUzed. And I think the name ManFUzed is a great name for a brand, personally. Think about what's that brand? Man Groomer or whatever. I mean, like,
what if we had Johnson lotion?
What lotion?
Johnson lotion.
It's the slickest around.
It has a warming feature.
Yeah. It has a tingle factor.
That's so funny. I feel like this is a platform. I feel like as someone who, you know, I'm in a business where part of what I do is I write a lot and I have to come up with like copy and market. And I feel like this is a platform. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with it.
And you shouldn't. And neither should anybody else. And the fact that it does makes me happy. Not at your expense, but if you were out of the equation, I would be screaming from a mountaintop with joy. But seriously, I mean, I do hate that there's any backlash, that someone even brings it up. But if there's anything that we can do to ease your pain, please let us know. And we will be reaching out behind the scenes about this ball powder. It is coming to fruition.
We'll reach out to Apple. I'm going to call Tim.
And tell him about our new ball powder.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll appreciate a good ball powder.
Everybody will. It's going to be global.
What if we did a thing where we like drop a dump truck load of ball powder over something.
Over the waterbed.
Over the forest or something.
Yeah. That's how we're going to extinguish forest fire.
Like out of a forest fire plane, you know how that orange stuff comes out.
It's going to be the ManFUzed ball powder. Smokey the Bear will endorse this message.
What if we did ball powder guns?
How funny would
Because nobody
that be?
wants to rub it on themselves. You get your hands all dirty. No. What if you had a pistol that you could shoot
It's
at
not
your
a
balls?
pistol. Just a little squishy thing that just puts out a little air. It's like, poof. It just kind of sprays
Oh,
it.
my goodness.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, thank you for your time, Pirooz. Thanks for answering the phone and not hating
The
us.
powder could come with it.
No, what are you talking about? I appreciate
The
it.
powder and the tool come together, dude.
I do like the demonstration for the launch of this ball powder to set fire to something and have a plane drop our ball powder to extinguish it. Hey, Ben, did you see the Rebel News crew from Australia? There was the chief editor and one of the journalists that cornered the CEO of Pfizer
Yes.
in Davos.
Yes, I saw it.
And I mean,
And I loved it.
It seemed like they were walking for 2 miles.
Yes.
While with no security, while these journalists were grilling him, asking every question that the world
Yes.
wants to know about the vaccine, about his profits. It was epic. And of course, I was like, man, this guy is getting grilled and he can't go anywhere. He wasn't answering anything, but you could see it in his eyes that there were a couple times to some of the questions where he wanted to spout off. And he was just telling himself, just don't say anything. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, because, you know, he wanted to yell at these journalists that were
Yes.
just following him. You know, what are you doing while you're making all these profits and people are dying? And, you know, how much did you make off of that vaccine?
Can I tell you something interesting about the CEO of Pfizer?
Please do.
He's not vaccinated.
Wow. Shocker.
Think about that. That's a
course he-
joke.
Why wouldn't you be vaccinated?
It's so safe.
This is a product that you stand behind that is going to help the world, but you won't put it in your body.
I'm so proud of everything that I've seen, honestly, that I'm starting to see, like, over the last literally month or two. I have incredible hope based on seeing things like that. I have been emotionally drained for years watching the narrative unfold and being one of the only ones to say something about it, whether in my friend group, to my family members, and being, in most cases, accepted but kind of brushed off, but in some cases, ostracized for an alternate opinion, just an opinion. Don't know, not a doctor.
And even if you were a doctor, that doesn't mean you might not know either.
These people left no room for another opinion. And that's how I knew it was fucked. That's how I knew it was garbage. If there's only one way to look at a situation, I'm out, bro. You can count me out, because I'm coming from a different angle every time. It's just how I am. And if that's not at least considered, then something must be wrong.
Well,
here.
to me, it was plain as day. The writing is on the wall. What's happening, what happened, the way it was handled, the whole COVID thing right off the bat, then with this vaccine. I mean, how the fuck you gonna guarantee that something is okay when there's been no long-term studies? Nobody knows the effects of this shit.
Just say we don't know.
If there was a disclaimer, hey, we think this might prevent some shit, we don't know what it's gonna do to you long-term.
It's this whole thing where you have to put this into your body, or you're going to lose your job.
That's how it was proposed to me.
That's what I'm saying.
And I was a little bitch.
No, it's not that you were a little bitch, but
I hated it. I didn't want to do it.
But you should never be put in a situation like that medically, especially for something that has obviously caused the side effects that it has. We didn't know at the time that it would. Some presumed. They were right, unfortunately. But to be put in that kind of situation is absolutely inexcusable. And
would that be a form of genocide?
what I call it authoritarianism, meaning there are consequences to not abiding the authority. And all of a sudden we saw who the medical authority was.
Fauci.
And who this authority was, and this authority, and this authority. And all of a sudden we were surrounded by this information.
But it was information that even Fauci himself had contradicted on the news, behind a podium, so many times. Wear a mask. Don't wear a mask. Wear a mask. Wear 2 masks. Then he's not wearing a mask.
These people that knew what was going on, they're riding a tiger, bro. Everybody expects them to say, oh, yeah, we were wrong. Sorry. It's not that simple. When you're riding a tiger, you can't get off, because if you do, the motherfucker will eat you. And the tiger might eat you anyways. But if you get off, it's certainly going to eat you right now. And that's the situation that these people, in my opinion, find themselves in. People are not stupid.
Because they didn't possess the eye of the tiger.
That's right, dude. That's right.
Dun, dun, dun.
And so much damage is already done.
Oh, my God. And so much damage has yet to unfold, I fear.
And so I love people like Rebel News and others out there. There's a lot of great news agencies that are doing what's called true journalism and not just folding or working with a narrative and only something within that narrative.
They're coming from a different perspective, and they're going after answers, whether they get them or not.
Whatever the answer may be. That's how I like to look at it. Hey, tell me the answer.
I like this guerrilla journalism that they were doing.
Love it.
Yeah, it was
love
great.
it. Because for so long, bro, it was like communism, bro.
It was like CNN, HLN, Fox News was trying to bring
the
a
contrarian.
But still, I don't trust Fox News any fucking
Hell
more than CNN. They're all run by a politically motivated, this is what we're going to air. This is the spin that we are looking for to put out to our audiences and to the world. And that's what they go for. It's like CNN wouldn't do anything pro-Trump. And I'm just using Trump as an example, not saying I support what he did.
Trump broke the system, bro. He broke it.
I know.
He broke the whole thing.
The owners of CNN, the higher-ups, were like, we want nothing pro-Trump on this network.
Right.
Everything is going to be against that narrative of him. And you could see it plain as day, not saying that Trump didn't give them plenty. Of shit.
Oh, the guy's a complete nightmare.
Yeah, he gave them plenty of weapons to come at him with. I mean, it was like, you know, and I get part of him was just to entice that. I think he got off by doing that. But we'll get off that subject, guys, from Rebel News.
It feels good,
from my brother's country of Australia.
I love it. You know, and when we were talking to your brother about that whole thing, it was interesting what happened in Australia. Nothing could be more authoritarian than a zero COVID policy.
Yep, but as my brother stated, they were there for it. The people voted for it. I mean, it was they agreed to it, just like having their guns taken away. You know, it's so crazy. Ben has to whisper about it.
When I start whispering,
that means
that's how you know it's wild.
That's how you know it's wild.
It's crazy.
So check this out, and I brought this up to you off mic. Did you know that there is a doomsday clock that has been kept since 1947?
I didn't know that, no.
So the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists started this atomic doomsday clock in 1947, estimating how close the world is to ending by stating starkly how many minutes to midnight remain on the signature doomsday clock.
Dang.
So as the hand gets closer to midnight, the closer we are to the end of the world.
Wow.
And after Biden... And
it resets every day?
No, it stays.
Wow.
And after Biden agreed that we were sending tanks to the Ukraine.
Yes.
The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists moved the clock 90 seconds to midnight.
Wow.
Which means we are closer to the end of the world, this group is predicting than ever before. Like this move by Biden in the United States by agreeing to give the Ukraine tanks to combat Russia, invaders of their country. I guess they are assuming that this is going to set Russia off and Putin into making some extreme choices with their weapons, which might instigate World War III, which could be an event that leads us to the end of the world.
Could potentially. That's really interesting. I didn't know about that.
We are 90 seconds till midnight.
I have to say, though, you know, with regard to nuclear, it's a really interesting conversation because nuclear is thought to be this kind of it's over for everybody. You know, like as soon as one hits, then everybody's getting hit. And
no, it's not quite like that. But
well, it's interesting that the United States is the only country in history to drop a nuclear bomb or two in a wartime and kill people with it. Other nuclear bombs have been tests. We're the only ones to ever nuke anybody, and that was Japan. It's a really interesting issue. This whole thing with Russia and Ukraine, I think the best we can hope for is that they come to some sort of an agreement and not drag the whole world into this.
I guess it's thought of as, okay, if Russia attacks NATO and then you've got one of the NATO countries in that alliance, Sweden, Finland, what is the other country that's near Ukraine? Poland. Then NATO's going to have to. The whole purpose of NATO was to align these countries to protect. You're a part of this alliance. You mess
with one, you mess with all.
Right. NATO can't just take it up the ass. That's going to send a real shit signal as to why any country would be a part of NATO in the first place. So they are going to have to react to something extreme if it happens. They can't just be like, oh, okay, you got us. We're going to just overlook that one.
I think at a certain point, terms are going to be given. And, I think it's going to be between Putin and really the rest of the world. And I think he's going to have to make a decision. Everybody has their own plight. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you can't just burn your world down, but that doesn't give you the right to burn everybody's world down. You're going to make whatever decisions that you make, but that doesn't give you the right to destroy life as we know it for the rest of us.
No.
It doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you are. And when you go popping off a nuclear missile, that's the signal you're sending. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking about Russian people here. Russian people are the ones who are going to die. The people are the ones who are going to die. All these dictators are going to go to underground bunkers
to try to run what's left of their crappy ass, area.
Or whatever, Yeah. It's just so weird.
I would hope that we would wipe the floor with Russia.
Oh, we would.
When it comes down to it.
We would.
I mean, seeing how their military is handling Ukraine, they can't even beat one little country. It's like us going over to Vietnam.
Where the United States excels beyond any other thing on the planet. Country, alliance, name it. We excel beyond it exponentially. Is weapons technology, defense technology, weapons systems. Bro, nobody is even halfway close. It's not even close. We're doing shit. People are buying our shit from 15, 20 years ago, and those are the people that we're most scared of.
Right, but we're not selling any of our new shit.
But it ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. We are the number one. We are by far number one. Weapons technology. It's not even close.
If we had to break out our newest, latest, and greatest, I mean, it would be a nightmare for whoever was.
Well, listen to this, bro. Tiger teams are, and there's different names for them, but basically the United States Army can drop 50,000 with tanks, planes, helicopters, infantry, spec ops, Rangers, everything. Full package. 50,000 within 24 hours anywhere on the globe. Yeah, dude, we can drop 50K tomorrow.
Anywhere.
Backyard. Wherever you want. Anywhere.
Full package.
Full thing.
All the fucking weapons.
Everything.
All the novelties.
Everything. Full package in the same place or spread out however you want it. You know what I mean?
Whatever it's needed.
Not to say we shouldn't be worried. Of course we're worried. I mean, it's devastating even just to see, obviously, people in Russia and Ukraine, just the soldiers. Think of the soldiers.
Dude, the Russian solgers, I feel bad.
Horrible for their families, bro. And these are human beings.
And this narrative that Putin's spinning,
right.
Because they only get what he wants them to hear. They're not getting. But I wonder how these Russian families, some of these families of soldiers are not even getting news of their loved ones.
It's insane, dude.
Because I don't even think Russia has record of half the people they're losing. And for these families to just sit back and go, I don't know what happened to them.
I was watching some footage the other day, or actually last night I was watching some footage of some battles in Ukraine. It was showing Russian infantry doing field movements against a dug-in Ukrainian position. Bro, these guys are amateurs. They're walking out in full open, just running at embankment.
It almost seems like how the Civil War was fought, where
wild.
on the battlefield where they're all just marching towards each other while the people are just shooting at the front line.
Yeah, dude. You've got the Ukrainians, they're in their territory. So they know where all the holes are. They know where all the sniper positions are. They know where everything is. They're in their own territory. Russia's got numbers. I think Russia's lost 150,000 or so thus far. But I heard a statistic, and I trust the source. They said that Russia has never entered a conflict without losing at least 500,000 troops.
God.
So when you look at the 150,000 number, it's big. But when you know that statistic, they could still have a long way to go.
They're willing to sacrifice another 350.
Dude, they're willing to put them on the field. Suck them right out of colleges, athletics, young kids.
Man.
They're just getting
the simple
slaughtered.
fact that the citizens of that country are not standing up more in revolt, because he's just sending someone's child who didn't want anything to do with this conflict to slaughter.
And it's a level of warfare over there, bro, where it's door to door. They're fighting house to house, which is the most difficult. Urban warfare is psycho.
It's much easier when everyone's on the battlefield and you can see them.
Oh, they're fighting face to face.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've talked about the Ukraine and their strength. They're just unwavering. You are not taking our country, and they have lost. Ukrainians have lost so many people too, and have been subjected to horrors, rape, murder.
Their country's been destroyed.
Psychological warfare.
Yeah.
And they're still going. They're still laying strong, and they're still taking down. I mean, it's so impressive what they've done with what they have.
Certainly Putin and Russia did not expect this level of resistance.
Hell no. But it's just made, and it's showed how weak and unorganized. I mean, they've changed leadership over and over who's in charge of the war. These people,
because there's no heart in it.
Their strategy, though, has just been... It seems like something like out of a kid's playbook. It's just like, it's not
Love
what you would
always wins,
expect the second largest superpower to be performing. Whether their reason for war is just or not, you would expect that they would be organized. They would be oiled. They'd be a machine. And they are fucking unorganized. They've got fucking Mickey Mouse ass fucking commanders in place that don't know what's going on.
It's a narrative problem. Again, the problem with authoritarianism is it doesn't inspire free thought. People are very creative and smart when you allow them to think freely. They can come up with battle strategies and plans. In Spec Ops, plenty of people have seen it in the movies, but one of the things that Spec Ops does is they have teams of 5, okay, in the Army, the Green Berets. And when they have a mission come down, bro, the team that is selected to go on the mission is briefed, and then they're left in the room until they come up with a battle plan. And there's food in the room, there's drinks in the room, everything's in the room. But they leave it to the people that are going to run the mission to come up with a series of battle plans to brief the commander on, who just briefed them on the mission they're about to go on. It's a different situation if you had the commander come and say, here's the mission and here's how you're going to execute on it. You see what I'm saying?
Well, and it's also a different type of when you're like, I don't understand, and not all the time, even with the U.S. military, and you've raised questions that you kind of, you're like, I'm not really understanding what we're doing here, but.
And I was a part of the authoritarian side, the big army. Where you got freedom was in Spec Ops. You know what I mean?
But still, I feel like, okay, but you have pledged your loyalty to the military.
Your life.
You have. And so regardless if you don't quite understand it, you're still on board.
That's right.
You know, I feel like Putin from the beginning, they're being forced.
Yeah, there's no heart.
They're being forced to do something.
Wins.
They're like, what are we doing? Now what? I'm not even in the military, but now I'm being sent off? Do you think you're going to have my dying loyalty to this cause?
Right.
Probably not. I mean, you don't want to get killed by your own country nor the enemy.
Which you will if you refuse to go. We'll just shoot you right here. Or you can go take your chances in Ukraine. What's your choice?
These aren't people that signed up for this. That's a different mentality when you're saying, hey.
And I don't know if they're at that level yet.
Well, they just had to they just rounded up 300,000 more troops.
Yeah, so.
Which were just picked from somewhere.
Like a draft.
They weren't in the military.
Well, like, for example, in Vietnam, the draft, you know, if you didn't go, then I think you'd be arrested and thrown in jail.
Well, I mean, Muhammad Ali avoided the draft.
Mm-hmm.
He went
for
over
religious purposes. Right. But I mean, if you just flat out said, no, I'm not going, I think they would throw you in jail.
But Muhammad Ali
lost his career.
Right, but didn't go because he was like, why? He stood up because he said, why the fuck? I'm not going to fight someone that is not my enemy.
Yeah, I don't know who these people are. I'm not going to.
There is a celebrity right there that stood up and said, fuck you. You're not sending me to go try to kill these people.
Exactly.
I got nothing against them.
That's right. And a lot of people would say that they were trying to get him killed. A lot of people would say that.
Muhammad Ali?
Right. I mean, if you really valued him as a national treasure, if you really valued him for everything that he is and that he was, why would you even ask him to go? Why would you take Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all time, and put him on the front lines with the infantry if you gave a fuck about him?
We didn't.
They didn't. That's what you learn when you get put on the front lines, is that they don't give a fuck about you. The only people that give a fuck about you are your family and the people that you're there with, who are looking to you and you're looking to them but you learn.
Well, right, because to the government and the people sending you there, you are a potential casualty of war.
100%.
You're expendable.
You're in those odds.
Maybe you'll get out. Maybe you won't.
The odds are with you that you get out as an American soldier. It's probably not going to die.
Maybe.
But
if you do, we'll give you a military funeral.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so necessary. It's just a shame, dude. We talk about as it pertains. I always go back to this just like sickness of humanity when I think about war and I talk about war, because it really just is, man. It is a stain on humanity.
It is.
I get it. That's unfortunate that it is.
Hey, if you have any thoughts you want to share, join the show. Hit us up at 770-744-5227. We are on WhatsApp. You can use your regular phone. Doesn't matter. You can join the show also by hitting us up, ManFUzed.com, and check out our ManFUzed gear. It is up on our site and various other places.
It's purty.
It is, man.
It's purty, that man.
Go skiing, gear. Ben. We're going to get up with you next week with some tales from the mountain.
No fruit booting over here, bro. I'm riding a board.
No fruit booting.
No fruit booter here.
We'll get more on that definition later.
We're going to drop in. Peace.